The vampire, a creature of the night, feeding on the innocent, embodying primal fear. From Stoker's Dracula to countless cinematic adaptations, the vampire narrative often features a vulnerable woman, a damsel in distress, awaiting rescue. However, Robert Eggers' 2024 adaptation of Nosferatu presents a different kind of heroine in Ellen, one who subverts this well-worn trope and seizes agency in the face of unimaginable horror. This is Dee Dee from Ladies First, and today we're diving into the Gothic horror of Nosferatu. And trust me, this isn't just a story of a woman threatened by a monster. It's a story of a woman who understands the monster, confronts her own darkness, and ultimately uses her perceived vulnerability to vanquish evil. Ellen's journey begins in a place of vulnerability. Her connection with Count Orlok, established in her youth during a moment of longing for companionship, haunts her with disturbing visions and uncontrollable convulsions. She is initially presented as a victim, seemingly powerless against Orlok's insidious influence. This echoes the traditional damsel archetype, a woman at the mercy of a powerful, predatory force. Yet, this vulnerability is not weakness. It is the seed of her strength. Ellen's initial connection with Orlok occurred during a period of youthful naivete and vulnerability, similar to how young people can be drawn into exploitative relationships with older individuals. This vulnerability is not a static state, but rather a starting point for Ellen's transformation. This vulnerability is further amplified by the social context of the time. Set in Germany in the early 19th century, this period was marked by rigid gender roles and societal expectations. Women were often confined to the domestic sphere, their voices and agency limited. This historical context adds another layer to Ellen's struggle. She is not just fighting a supernatural monster, she is fighting against the constraints of her time, against a patriarchal system that seeks to silence her and define her worth by her vulnerability. As Orlok's presence intensifies, Ellen's understanding of her connection to him deepens. She recognizes the psychological pull, the terrifying allure of evil, even as she recoils from it. This internal struggle, the push and pull between attraction and repulsion, is a crucial element of her character. It is this understanding of the darkness within herself, her shadow self, that sets her apart from the typical damsel. She doesn't simply fear the monster, she confronts the part of herself that is drawn to him. This resonates with the common interpretation of vampires as metaphors for repressed desires, particularly female desires, which were often demonized in the Victorian era. The act of being bitten by a vampire, as some critics have argued, can be seen as a symbolic representation of a woman's loss of innocence, her transition into womanhood, and the societal anxieties surrounding female sexuality. The film also subtly critiques the patriarchal structures that contribute to Ellen's disempowerment. Ellen is often dismissed or silenced by the men around her, mirroring the hysteria rhetoric often used to control women in the Victorian era. This silencing is not unique to Ellen. It reflects a broader societal trend of marginalizing women's voices and experiences. Even her husband, Thomas, while not intentionally malicious, embodies some of these patriarchal attitudes. His initial enthusiasm for his trip, driven by ambition and a desire to prove himself, overshadows his concern for Ellen's well-being. This highlights how societal expectations and gender roles can inadvertently contribute to women's vulnerability. Ellen's subversion of the damsel trope culminates in her ultimate act of sacrifice. She understands that she must defeat the monster. However, her method is unique. She doesn't wield a sword or rely on a heroic rescuer. Instead, she uses her connection to Orlok against him to create a trap. By offering herself as bait, she ensures his destruction. This is not passive submission. It is a calculated act of defiance. She uses her status as an object of desire to defeat him. Ellen's sacrifice is not simply an act of despair, it's an act of empowerment. It is a reclaiming of agency in a world that seeks to disempower her. It's a deliberate choice, a strategic maneuver that turns her perceived weakness into her greatest strength. This act of self-sacrifice, while seemingly tragic, can also be interpreted as a form of liberation. Ellen frees herself from the psychological torment of Orlok's influence, but also from the societal expectations that confine her. Her story reminds us that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, women can find the strength within themselves to defy expectations, challenge societal norms, and ultimately triumph over evil. Let's keep this conversation going. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this discussion, make sure to subscribe to Ladies First.